Okay, sorry about that. My time is showing 3:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone very much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about using Brightspace as an administrator, and we are very lucky today to have two guests with us to walk us through today's webinar. Before we get started with that, I'm just going to do some housekeeping items. So as you'll notice, the Q&A and chat are both disabled for today. This is because the 30 minutes will be used for the entire webinar. If you do have questions though, please feel free to send me an email to bridget.grogan@d2l.com, and I will be happy to help you out with any questions that you might have. Also, a recording and slide deck will be available on the Teaching and Learning website posted by tomorrow. This is the same website that you would have registered for today's session. You will also get a follow-up email directing you to this web page. If you've been to a D2L webinar before, this slide will be very familiar to you. Just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with the terms we're using today. You might hear us saying D2L or Brightspace. D2L is our company, Brightspace is our product. Sometimes these words are used interchangeably, but you might hear both of these today and just knowing what those both mean. And finally, I just want to direct your attention to the Brightspace community, which is an online community with a bunch of D2L staff as well as other educators and administrators on there asking and answering questions and building a community around Brightspace. So again, if you do have any questions, I do direct you to there as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow our presenters to take it away. Thank you.
Great. Well, good afternoon, folks. Let's see if I can quickly get my video to go here. Maybe not so much. That's quite okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending at the tail end of this Thursday. As you can see from the slide, my name is James Medway, and I am the principal of LSK Elementary School. And with me this evening is also Mrs. Catherine Shauna. She is also at LSK, serving as our curriculum lead. Today, it's our pleasure to showcase to you some workflows looking at Brightspace from a admin perspective. We really do have a lot of cool things to showcase to you guys throughout the course of the next 30 minutes. But before I get to the agenda, I'll just take a really quick moment and comment briefly on some specific details to the school. So we work at Lloyd S. King Elementary School, which is in Mississaugas of the Credit, which is in Southern Ontario, Canada. And just for your information, we've been using Brightspace or D2L since the very beginning of the year, this year in September, and we've remained entirely online for the entire duration of the year so far without skipping a beat. What you're about to see are some workflows and some creative ideas that our staff has really come up with to maximize the platform for our student experience. As you can see on the agenda, we have three main bullet points here. Our first one is we want to showcase to you a lot of really cool custom org level widgets. So these are widgets, I'm using the word org level, but these are widgets that we've created on our default landing page. So as soon as our students log in, it's widgets that they'll see first on that landing page. After that, I'll be passing things over to Mrs. Shauna. She'll be showcasing to you some cool use cases on how we've created course offerings to serve as additional resources for both students, but also staff. And then finally, to wrap things up, I'm also excited to share with you this evening how we can use the Intelligent Agents tool to help enforce some of our attendance policy. And this is going to be really cool to see how we've actually utilized it to make sure that our students really don't fall through the cracks. So we'll get started with the first one, which is custom org level widgets. So as you can see from the deck here, we've gone a little widget crazy. We have so many to choose from. And I should mention that we had actually quite a difficult time distilling down our list to even the ones that you see up on the screen here. But honestly, they really have had a huge impact on the school. What you're going to see me do is take a brief moment to showcase each of these widgets that you see up on the slide. I'll describe it a little bit in detail and then continue to move on to the next. I'm really excited to share with you the many different widgets that we have really come up with as a staff the last little while at our school. Starting first with our virtual school assembly. So the virtual school assembly widget is a custom widget we created. It was something we kicked off at the very beginning of the school year. Although we have a fully online learning experience, we wanted to make sure that we still created opportunities for our students and our staff and our families to still come together as a family. And the virtual school assembly widget allowed us to do that. It also allowed us to bring forward that sense of community, but also make sure that all of our stakeholders still get up to date with the latest and greatest information. So it's very simple. It's just a custom widget that showcases a Zoom link. All they'd have to do to attend is every single Monday morning, they can go to this widget and at 8:30 click that link, hop into our webinar Zoom link, which is very similar to what we're using right now, and then afterwards be able to watch it. And if they if they aren't able to see it or they miss it, you'll actually see that we share the recording here, which allows them to access it afterwards if in the event that Monday didn't work well for the family schedule. We really have had this take shape over time. So I'll just share with you some of the cool things we've added in as part of our format. The first one is when students attend the virtual school assembly each morning, they're welcomed with drumming. This is a way to welcome them actually into the virtual school assembly, which we would otherwise have in the school. Once we have some drumming provided, and this is actually a recorded drumming session from students from previous years, we then say our Ojibwe morning prayer, which is a way to, again, welcome everybody and make sure that we get started off on a good foot. We're really important for us at the school to showcase the 7 grandfather teachings. So each month we also showcase a grandfather teaching of the month, and we have Mr. Shauna say a few words, who's our Anishinaabe language teacher, about the significance and some of the characteristics of those teachings. And then throughout the month, we encourage our students to continue to work towards displaying those characteristics in an online capacity. Mental health for us has been a priority during this break. So we've also had Mindful Monday always in place. This is where we have our school mental health worker come on and provide a very brief Mindful Monday activity, just to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and also our mental health. It's also a way for us to share really important school events, clubs, reminders. We also showcase some of our student work, which we collect throughout the week. And we also, from time to time, showcase students' birthdays as well. Again, it really does help us create a sense of community, even though we're online. To help incentivize our families, we also provide a gift card recently. So those folks who attend, at the very end, I do a skill testing question, which allows them to try to answer it. And if they get it, they get a gift card for correctly answering it, which is a way for us to continue to drive traffic to these assemblies each week. That's the first one. Let's keep rolling right along. So aside from our virtual school assembly, we've also quite creatively created this custom widget. This is our school clubs widget. So here you see within the school a variety of really cool school clubs that we've created. We have a Lego building club, girls hand drum, art club, what have you. Again, even though we're online, we still wanted to provide students with opportunities to socialize with each other. So this is a Google slide, which is embedded into a widget. And when they click on the images that are posted here, this will actually open up in a separate tab, a Google Doc, which allows them to see pertinent information related to that club. So this is, again, just a really cool way for our students to stay connected with us and also each other and socialize, even though we're online. Another cool widget that I'll quickly spotlight for you is our report card sign up widget. It's really important that we still involve our families with this educational experience. So as a way for us to, I would say, coordinate report cards, we arranged virtual meetings for all of our report card meetings shortly after they're distributed. And to do that, we created this widget here, which is a series of hyperlinks. And as soon as families click on this link, they would click the link of the classroom that would be obviously the one that pertains to them. They would then open again a Google Doc where they could quickly write down the initials of themselves and their student, which would allow them to reserve an interview time. Afterwards, they could then hop into a Zoom link and take advantage of that session. Next up is our mental health door. So as I've already mentioned, mental health is a big priority for us at the school. We really want to make sure we're taking care of each other and ourselves, especially during this pandemic. In normal circumstances, we have a school mental health worker at the school that has an office. And what may happen is if a student needs any sort of assistance, they would usually come into the office, knock on the mental health door, and then hopefully be greeted with our school mental health worker who's there to provide resources, assistance, what have you. We wanted to replicate that even in an online capacity, and here's what we came up with. So you'll see that that door is still reflected, but what we've done here is we've embedded in a Microsoft form. So all students need to do if they need to reach out for assistance is simply fill out these 3 fields, their first name, their last name, and then their preferred contact method. And that way our school mental health worker will still get in touch with them shortly afterwards, just to make sure that if anybody needs help, they can always get assistance by doing a quick knock. Along the same vein of assistance, another really cool widget that we've added to our org level page is what we're calling our drop-in tutor widget. So this is facilitated for us every Monday to Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Transitioning to fully online learning is a bit of a transition. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Students are going to need assistance, not just with their classroom assignments or projects, but with continuing to learn all of the intricacies of the D2L tools that they're being exposed to likely for the first time. So to help with that, we've created this drop-in tutoring widget. It's very simple. All families or students need to do is during that time frame I just mentioned, come over to this widget, click the Zoom link, and we have EAs who are scheduled in for this session, who are there to provide support, whether it be fielding D2L questions or specific questions related to classroom assignments. This has been a really helpful way for us to still provide that support, even in a virtual capacity. As I've also already mentioned, the sense of community for us was always something that we wanted to try to bring forward since the beginning, even though we are online. And to help deliver that, what we've done here is we've created what we call our custom community wall widget. So this is a custom widget created with a Padlet. And again, it's embedded within the page. What we often do as part of our virtual school assembly is we try to create different themed weeks. So this will be, for instance, based upon holidays or cultural events, what have you. And we encourage students to showcase what they're up to at home based upon the activity that we're spotlighting. So what you'll see on the screen here are a series of posts from our students and also community members of things that they've gotten up to themselves, even though they're at home. This is how we can kind of get a glimpse into what everyone is up to and at the same time still remain connected. The last custom widget is probably the best. We've really saved the best for last year. This is our LSK mural widget, which is also called Our Story. So what you're seeing here is a picture of, in the school, what we would call our mural room. The mural room is really important for us. It allows us to bring forward a lot of very important cultural teachings. And through these pictures, there's so many different significances and teaching opportunities that are made possible through it. In fact, since making this available, we've actually been able to earn over 5,000 views through Google Maps. But it's not a picture like you may think. What we've actually done in this case, and I'll take down my screen for this one, is if you take a look, yep, there we go. We've actually created an interactive 360-degree photo widget here, which allows students, teachers, families to move around and appreciate the entire room. And as you can see here, all the details that are part of this mural. So if families want to, they can move around like you see me doing, or they can also zoom in or even zoom out. So for us, this was a really big teaching tool that we have available from the school. And this still allows us to bring forward those important messages, even though we are in an online capacity. So that's going to conclude our first bullet point. I really hope some of those custom widgets were of interest to you. They've definitely had a big impact on how we've been doing things within our school. Up next, I'm going to be passing things over to my colleague, Mrs. Shauna. She's going to be talking to you about how we're also using resource course offerings. When you're ready, Mrs. Shauna, take it away.
Great question, James. Thank you very much. So as you can see here, we have two bullets that we're going to be taking care of today. And we're looking at resource course offerings, and we're looking at two particular courses in particular, Curriculum Connections and Taking Care of Yourself, So with these two courses, I'd like to share that not only are we wanting to think about the support that we can offer to students, we're also thinking about the support we can offer to teachers as well. So with these courses, we're going to take a closer look. James, if you can go to the next slide, please. So our first course that we're going to have a look at is a course that I created, which is called the Curriculum Connections course. And with this course, there are some key areas that we're going to take a look at today. The first area is professional development, followed by cultural teachings, a resource spotlight, how we're using the activity feed for upcoming events, and we're going to take a closer look into the content folders. So let's have a start with professional development. If we can have a look at that slide. So the very first thing that's available for staff is, as my role as a curriculum lead, it's a fairly new role at our school, but I've made myself available for staff, created my own open office hours where they can contact me during the week and also at any other time via my Zoom link. So that's the first thing that they'll see when they open up that course page. When we go into the next section, we're looking at some professional development. So in this instance, what I like to do is highlight kind of really 3 areas that I see as very important when we're looking at professional development. One is any upcoming webinars, whether that's for the ministry, that I would like our teachers to have a look at. I'm also looking at virtual conferences or guest speakers from various organizations that I can also highlight. And the third way that I use this professional development widget is also to highlight instructional strategies or certain techniques that I think they're worth having a look at. If we can go to the next slide, please, James. I also have a component of cultural teachings. We are a First Nation school, Anishinaabe school, like James said, located in Southern Ontario on Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. So it's very important that we are incorporating cultural teachings and that teachers and students have resources that have been vetted and that they know that they are suitable to use in a classroom setting. And it's very important that it's noted too that we really want to make use of our community knowledge keepers and make sure that we're using our elders within our community to support some of these teachings. Next slide. The other area that I want to focus on this course is called the Resource Spotlight. So in this section, what I like to do is highlight various resources that will support many areas of the curriculum. So as you can see up here, whether or not it's phys ed, whether or not it's literacy, math, it's an opportunity for me to highlight a resource and make this resource aware. These resources I gather from my own online learning, professional learning, or other conferences or webinars that I've attended. Next page, please. At our school, we have often quite an amount of events. We have some regular events where we're looking at, for example, our Grandfather Teaching of the Month Award. In instances like this, what we want to do is provide resources and those supports for teachers when we want to bring this learning forth to our students. We want to make sure that we've got some read alouds, other types of resource to support that teaching moving forward. So the activity feed gives me the ability to kind of attach a resource to an upcoming event. And next. So what you're going to see here is just a little glimpse into the content folders. So teachers have access to come into this course, click on a content folder, and access some additional resources. This is just a sample of some of the topics that are available to them. If we click on the next page, we kind of, we're going to tease out one of these content folders, for example. So here we have a content folder on residential schools. So you can see where there are some just web links to some online resources. I've uploaded some videos, also some additional read alouds that support this topic in our school. So once again, I said these are vetted resources, and it gives the teachers kind of ease of mind that these are things that they could use. Next page, please. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next course. This course is managed by our school mental health worker, Mrs. McNanny. So we're going to highlight some areas particular to this course. And once again, these courses, and we're using this D2L platform not only to service the needs of our students, but also for our teachers as well. So we're going to take a look at taking care of yourself, and we're going to look at these 5 areas in particular: school community events, lunch, mindful Mondays, relaxation room, and content folders. So we can go on to the next slide. So here you can see some of our activities, or what are some of the items that are on this course. So you can see we've had a bluegrass concert night. It highlights some of our school community events. We also have a Munch and Lunch with Marianne, where students are able to access this kind of informal meet and eat time with our school mental health worker, where they can join in with her Zoom link and just have kind of informal conversations. Something that's been part of our school for a while. Every Monday, as you know, Mr. Medway had talked about our virtual assemblies. Well, also during these virtual assemblies, we have something that's called a Mindful Monday or mindfulness component, whether or not we're meditating together or providing them with some various mindfulness activities or coping strategies. So this is just an example of one of our Mindful Monday activities. At the lower part of your screen, what you're going to see there is a relaxation room. So this is pinned actually right up to the top of the toolbar, where teachers, students can come and access this link. And what you're going to see here in terms of this folder is you'll see this room or this visual room that will pop up. And a lot of these images here are manipulative. So you can click on a window and you can actually be out by the babbling brook. You can click on the other window and you could be out in the forest and you would be hearing some of those sounds of that escape. And also when you look at the ocean picture above the fireplace, for example, you can click on that and you'll hear the waves, crashing waves of the ocean. If you click on the fish tank, you'll see an aquarium and the fish moving within your screen. So even just looking at the screen, different things that you could add, whether or not it's a table with some coloring books on there, or a yoga mat on the floor that links to some yoga videos, for example, or when you click on the fire to have that fire kind of zoom up on your screen and you can hear the crackling of that in the background. Next screen, please. You're also going to see some of her content. So if you look into this content, we're looking at stories and legends, which also supports the social and emotional development. We're also looking at ways that we can create identity and connection with, things that would calm us. And we want to make sure that we're looking at various different cultures from around the world in order to learn from one another and to respect one another. And give us those opportunities to learn just different ways that we can create a calming space for ourselves. We have recipes for wellness with neat activities to do, just to bring out that creative side, and also some tips for some healthy communication. So this is just an example of some of the content that is within this course. James, I think that brings me to the end of this one. Great. And I'm going to pass it back on to you so you can talk about our last objective.
Yeah, thanks. Good question, Mr. Shauna. Just to reiterate what she said a moment ago, that last spotlight is incredibly useful to know because, as she said, we don't have to create course offerings just for students, but instead consider in the future yourself creating course offerings as resources for both staff or even community members. The one thing that is really important to emphasize there too is if we have staff that may not be familiar with culture of the area, now having access to those resources, which Catherine has carefully put together and has vetted, they can now have more resources in their hand to make sure that they are tailoring their lessons to the local First Nation. In addition to that too, if they're looking for mental health strategies, those are also there as well. It really does help us put those resources, those invaluable resources, in the hands of our staff.
Thanks, James.
Yeah,
and even as I was presenting, I was even thinking about how you could use that course offering for parents as well. You can have a parent course where you have all that information with regards to IEP process or those types of things at their fingertips with the click of a button.
Yeah. And I mean, the one idea that we've recently been kind of bouncing around recently is potentially even creating a resource course that might be an orientation course for our staff next year or future years, especially to help disseminate some of that knowledge related to COVID protocols and things along those lines. So the sky's the limit. To wrap up this presentation today, as you can see on the slide, we still have one more objective, and that is for me to showcase to you how we're using the unique tool Intelligent Agents to help with our attendance policy. So the key thing I really want to emphasize here is Intelligent Agents have been immensely helpful for us just to ensure that our students don't fall through the cracks. With online learning, there's a tendency to easily begin to slowly disengage, and the next thing you know, a few days turn into more days, and then you've lost that student. Intelligent Agents allows us to create reports, which then allows us to flag students who might be at risk of that example I just described. So see up on the left-hand corner here, we actually have created 3 different types of reports. The first one is an intelligent agent that generates a report, which is going to send an email to teachers, letting them know all the students in their class who maybe haven't logged into their course in the last 5 days. And that's really what an intelligent agent is. As you can see on the right-hand side there, the intelligent agent is simply a robot which sends automatic emails based upon conditions you set. So aside from the 5-day course offering flag, we'll also run a report for 10 days and 15 days, but I'll do this for the entire school at our org level. So that allows me as an administrator to easily flag all of the students who haven't logged in say 10 days, and then we can then internally do those appropriate next steps. Or if they hit 15 days, we can then from there do those next appropriate steps. But it really does make sure that we're not missing anybody and no students at the end of the day are falling through the cracks. Whew. We've shared with you a lot of information today. We're getting close to the end of our 30 minutes, but just before we wrap up, I wanted to share with you a quick summary. So to begin, I showcased to you a cornucopia of custom org level widgets. I really do hope you find some of those unique use cases that our staff have been able to come up with useful for your own schools. Aside from that, you have the opportunity to hear how we are using course offerings as resources. And lastly, I also just briefly shared with you how you can use the Intelligent Agents tool to ensure you flag students who may be at risk, just to make sure they don't fall through the cracks. To wrap things up, because this webinar today is focused on a D2L admin perspective, I'm sure there may be some folks attending this who are looking for additional guidance related to implementing or increasing adoption of their own learning management systems. And I'm happy to share with you that recently, myself, last summer, I finished my Doctorate of Education at Western University, and I focused my research on exactly that, implementing and increasing adoption of learning management systems. If you're looking for any adoption strategies or implementation techniques, feel free to do a quick Google search. That would be James Medway, Western University. You'll be able to come across this article. Overall, we do really want to say thank you for having us today, Bridget. It's a pleasure to showcase a lot of the cool things that we've done together as a school. And for all of you attending, we also appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to come in and give us a quick watch. We really do hope that some of the workflows and use cases that we showcased to you today may be helpful for your own organizations. Catherine, anything you'd like to quickly add to wrap things up?
No, just once again, thanks for the opportunity. And like I said, I'm very proud of the work that we've done at LSK and just the way that we can support staff and students and hopefully even venturing into community as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mukesh, Catherine, back over to you, Bridget.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I really want to thank both James and Catherine for taking the time today and walking us through such amazing resources that they've built out for their schools. I hope that you found this very helpful. Again, thank you so much. Have a great day. And you can find the recording as well as the slide deck on our webpage tomorrow. Thank you.